Hey, it's Wednesday afternoon. More importantly than that, did you know that today is National Ranch Dressing Day? Me either. And it really has nothing to do with why we're here. This is another episode of Mr. Cashflow Live. These weekly broadcasts are designed to help you increase your business or practice's cash flow and introduce you to some great people and some subject matter experts that can be important to you and be of help to you. The recorded version of this live stream will be on my YouTube channel at Cashflow Strategies Inc. If you'd like to be notified of when we go live, just subscribe to the YouTube channel, click the notification bell on there, and you will be notified whenever we decide to go live. Normally, it's every Wednesday afternoon at 4, at least for now. As we go along, please feel free to ask questions. We'll try and answer them live. If you'd like to be notified, if you're watching the recorded version, then we'll get those answers back to you by email. I am excited because today I have two guests for the first time on Mr. Cashflow Live. My company, Cashflow Strategies Incorporated, has recently partnered with a company called Optimally Business Performance. And with me today is the founder of Optimally, Russ Lindmark, and the owner of LSI Advisory Group, Larry Isaacson. And I've asked these guys to join me today on this episode of Mr. Cashflow Live to talk about how we're able to reduce a business's operating expenses by up to 25% through benchmarking and big data at no cost to the client. That means a big impact on cash flow, and that is exactly why we're here. So without any further ado, guys, welcome to Mr. Cashflow Live.
Pleasure.
Thanks for having us, David.
Yeah.
My pleasure. Russ, why don't we start out? Tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you've been, where you're going, what you're doing now.
Thanks. Sure. So spent the last 25 years building software companies, and really the last 12 focused on benchmarking technology and helping businesses reduce expenses through using big data and benchmarking technology to deliver results to their bottom line.
Super. Larry, same question. Who are you? What do you do?
I've been in finance my whole career. I had a background in doing tough deals and figuring out how to get them done. I've closed a little over $3 billion worth of transactions, and when I came across this particular opportunity, it just was like, this is a no-brainer. And I haven't seen anything like this in my career. So
fantastic.
Very happy. Yeah.
I'm just going to basically throw out some questions. You guys feel free to answer as you feel led, but let's start out, especially Russ, by talking about what does Optimally Business Performance do?
Good. I thought you were going to ask me a question about ranch dressing, and I was going to be ill-equipped to answer that one. So
I've got that one.
You got it. Okay, Larry. We'll save that one for you.
Yeah.
So Optimally, the whole core of what we do is helping businesses save money. We help drive down expenses, and the way that we do that, we've amassed $6 trillion worth of expense data, and we've put it into a data lake. And don't make me explain the technology of what a data lake is, but essentially it's all unstructured data, and it lets us run a model against any business's expenses to show where they fit and with every expense category, where they are versus optimized. And we return to them a report that shows them category by category how much money that they can save. And then we take it a step further. We go put that savings in place with their existing vendors.
Fantastic. So it's all about benchmarking,
Yep.
right? So Tell me why benchmarking is important to a business owner.
Yeah, so let's put it in terms that everybody can understand. You wouldn't go buy a house today without knowing what every house in the neighborhood cost, right? I mean, you would know the comps.
All about the comps.
It's all about the comps. You wouldn't go buy a car without knowing what everybody else is paying for that same make, model, and year of car. So, think about that as it relates to business expenses. How do you get comps for your internet bill, for your telecom bill, for your software licenses that you're purchasing? for anything that you're purchasing. That transparency that exists with all consumer products now doesn't exist for business expenses. So that's really what we're trying to achieve, is to create that level of transparency that exists on the consumer side and bring it to businesses and let them know that what they're paying is what everybody else that has those same services and like businesses are paying.
Fantastic. And you think is it really realistic to talk about reducing somebody's expenses by 25%, up to 25%?
Yeah, it just depends on the business and the category. But I will say this, of the hundreds of businesses that we've analyzed, we have not found one yet that we were not able to achieve savings for, period.
Fantastic.
And that analysis, by the way, is completely free. All we need is somebody to send us 12 months of their general ledger data, and we'll run that analysis against our $6 trillion of benchmarking data and come back to them with a savings potential. While
we're talking about it, right then, and you just mentioned that if you're interested in getting an operational analysis for your company, contact me, and I will get it set up with Russ and Optimally and Larry and anybody else you need to talk to. Email me at david.wiener@cashflowstrategies.us, and we'll be happy to get that going for you. Again, it's free. We want to say that as many times as possible.
Yeah, and if I can just add to that, if you think you're paying exactly what you should be, then let us confirm that for you, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So give me an idea, what kind of expenses are we talking about?
Everything. All operating expenses to run a business. So it's easier to talk about what we don't do. We don't tell people what they should be paying their employees. We consider that to be off limits and a personal choice and negotiation between the employer and the employee. And we do payroll processing. We're absolutely helping businesses save money against that. And then we also don't do rent and leases, because they tend to be longer term.
Sure, and that's awfully subjective.
Yeah.
I would imagine. So how exactly do you leverage the big data?
Right. So, with our model, the way it works is it basically creates a profile of your business, and it compares you to millions of other businesses. And after categorizing all of your expenses, it shows you a delta between what you're paying and what is optimized. And optimized being best in class. So we report back to the business, here's the sum of all of those categories and the total opportunity for us to go save you. And then we go and we work with if they agree, we work with their existing vendors to put new agreements in place to save them money.
Wow. And so they don't have to change any of their vendors?
No, we consider that a failure. If we're not able to achieve the savings with their existing vendor, there's a lot of businesses out there that, talk about expense reduction, and really all they are is a front for a different business service, and they've got a contract in their pocket that they can swap out and tell you that you're saving money. We don't want any disruption to your business. We want to go negotiate on your behalf with your existing vendors and put new agreements in place. And what we found is that when you approach those vendors armed with data saying, here's 9 businesses on the same block with the same services that are paying X percent less, it really disarms the vendor and takes the friction out of those negotiations.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. If you have any questions, please enter them into the question box. If you are watching the recorded version of this, please go ahead and put the comments in wherever you're watching it, on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and we will get back to you either through social media or by email if it requires a little more extensive of an answer. So in what ways does this differ from a buying group? I have for years been recommending that some of my clients join buying groups because they can save some money. And a lot of them are very resistant because it requires them to change. First of all, they're expensive in a lot of cases, especially in the medical and dental world. Mm-hmm. But it causes them to have to change vendors. And who knows?
That's probably the key, David, is they have to change their vendors, to get into the buying group and to buy with the vendors are selling them, as opposed to where we do is we go in with your existing vendors and we tell the vendors what they should be paying, because here's the data to back up what we're saying.
Yeah, that makes a whole lot more sense to me.
Yeah.
I find too that from the other side, as a representative of some companies, if I approach a buying group to become a part of it, it's really, what are you going to do? What's your company going to do for the buying group so that we recommend you? You know, and if you give them some kind of a discount for being a part of the buying group, then that's good. Doesn't have to doesn't have to be significant or anything. This way they get to work with their current vendors, the people that they know, the relationships that they've established. You're not going to go tick off their vendors. You're just basically showing them the data, and that tends to disarm them when you negotiate with them. And this is an ongoing process, right?
Yeah, so our agreements are for 36 months. We continually benchmark all their expenses, because businesses they're not static. They're living and breathing things, and they change over 36 months. And what is optimized today is not going to be optimized in 12 months, 18 months, 24 months. So we continually benchmark even after we put the new agreements in place. And the other important part is that we're running compliance checks every single month on every single vendor agreement to make sure that they're only charging you what they should. And if there's mistakes, we go and take care of those mistakes and get that money back in the business's pocket.
So you're not only saving them money, you're saving them a lot of time.
Yeah.
Time they probably don't have to do this kind of thing.
Yep. And I mean, one of the biggest pain points we find with businesses when we start working with them is they can't pull up their contracts. They don't know where their agreements are. And that's built into our platform. That's included in our platform at no cost, is that contract management piece. So they know exactly where their contract is located, what the terms of that agreement are, and when it expires, most importantly.
That's fantastic. That's great. And again, you don't have any approved vendors or whatever. It's whoever they're working with currently.
That's right.
Very good. Okay. So let's say one of my clients says, sure, I'll give it a shot. What's the process like?
Yeah, so the process is they send us 12 months of their trailing general ledger. You know, so think about that. It's just a check register for their business, right? So we've got 12 months of their expenses. We run the analysis. We come back to them and say, here's how much money we can save you. They make the agreement to move forward. Our billing is a percentage of the savings realized. So we don't charge them anything until the month after they get invoiced off of a new agreement with their existing vendor. And we show them the savings and bill them for a percentage of it.
So it's always a net cash flow plus.
Always net cash flow plus. We're billing in arrears the month after the savings occurs.
No out of pocket for the company.
None whatsoever. The analysis
That's good, because most of my guys don't like spending any dollars.
Right.
What's the reason for the 36-month contract?
Sure. The reason for the 36-month contract, we obviously have the upfront cost of running the analysis. We have the upfront cost of putting the new agreements in place, right? So we're spreading that cost out over the full 36 months and telling them that we're going to keep them optimized for that full 36 months. Now, after that 36 months, if they decide that they don't want to continue on with Optimally, then the savings is obviously theirs to keep for as long as they have those agreements in place.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Okay, so nuts and bolts. I know people are going to ask me this. Can you give me some examples of how much you've saved a client?
Sure. So we had a medical practice. Actually, you talked about medical practices earlier. We had a medical practice in pulmonary care, which in the last year has obviously been a big deal with this pandemic, that came to us, and we saved them $500,000 on their expenses. We reduced their EMR and I think 15 other expense categories and put $500,000 to their bottom line, which they in turn used to hire another doctor and 2 more nurses and grow their practice. So
$500,000 over what period of time? Over the 3 years?
No, in the first year.
In the first year. So $500,000 a year savings, essentially.
Right.
I know a whole lot of practices who could use that kind of money. that kind of extra cash flow.
And
So
that's ongoing. In other words, they always have that money on the bottom line, or to keep, the hiring of the doctor and the 2 nurses are basically generating revenue at no expense to them.
phenomenal. And this works for any kind of a company, right?
Any kind of business. I often get asked the question, is there one industry that this works better for? And the answer to that question is we have not found a single business in any industry that we were not able to save money. And we've now analyzed businesses in 93% of the SIC codes. So we're still waiting to get that last 7% in, but no, there's no business that this works better for.
The one you can save the most money for is the one who isn't paying attention to what they're spending, which is a lot of them, as far as I know. I was just able to hook one of my clients up with a new merchant service processor and save them $1,200 a month just because they hadn't been paying attention to what they were spending. And I'm sure it works that way. A lot of them just don't have the time to do it. And so they're overspending, and this will find every nickel for them.
And I've been guilty myself. I've built 7 businesses over the last 25 years. And when you're building a business, you're focused on the revenue. You're focused looking forward, not on your expenses. And it usually takes somebody that you trust financially to say, have you looked at this, for you to turn around and say, no, I have not. We probably should.
People don't realize that their cash flow goes a whole bunch of different directions. And if they can keep more of what they make and spend less of what they make and pay as little in taxes as possible, that all equals cash flow. And you're right. So many look at the profit and they say, well, I'm profitable. That's good. I'm making a profit. The business is going well. If you don't look at your cash flow, you can be profitable and go out of business. Very easy.
Question. Yeah. And it takes somebody like Larry to come to you, and thank goodness he did, and say, have you looked at this? And that obviously opens the business owner's eyes to, especially if it's a hands-off, they don't need to be involved in it, then they can keep focusing on growing their business and bring in experts like you, Mr. Cash Flow, and like Larry was for us, and let us focus on growing the business and save money.
It's fantastic. Anything else that you want to share while we're still here before we head out?
One of the things I want to add is a lot of times you hear the saying of, well, they left some money on the table. And, in other words, because they're, again, focusing on what the price is on the top line, and they're negotiating. And what we do is we take the money that they're leaving on the table, and we're able to, put it together and give it to them.
Put it back in their wallet.
They're not leaving anything on the table. Exactly. Yeah.
That's fabulous. Money left on the table is no money at all, as far as I'm concerned.
You're exactly right.
Fantastic. Guys, I want to thank you very much for joining me today. I really, really look forward to working with you and with Optimally. I think this is going to be a great thing for my clients. I can't wait to introduce them to you. Thanks for joining me today.
It's been our honor. Thank you, David. Appreciate it.
Thank you for asking us, and our pleasure.
So email me if you would like to get that operational analysis, not at the YouTube channel, sorry, at my email address, and we will get you the details on getting the operational analysis just very, very quickly. Join me every week right here for another episode of Mr. Cash Flow Live. I tell you, your bottom line is going to thank you. Until next week, as always, I'm David Weiner, Mr. Cash Flow from Cash Flow Strategies. After all, it's your money. Keep more of it.